Hello, welcome to Startup TV. We're here in Kensington at Urban Golf, and I'm with the founder, James Day. James, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. And you?
Very good. Yeah, I'm very well. So we can see behind us we've got a simulator. Do you want to explain what Urban Golf is and what we can see?
Well, this is the sort of evolution of Urban Golf, I guess, with the new simulator. But essentially, what Urban Golf is, the idea was founded around the principle that there are a lot of people in London who would like to play golf or play golf and are very frustrated that they don't get to play enough golf. And it's about giving people the opportunity to get their golfing fix, whether it be a lesson or a game with friends or just something social in the evening that's convenient and it's quick.
And was that born out of your hobby? Was golf something you were always interested in?
Yeah, it's sort of been the only thing I've been interested in for most of my life.
Right, okay.
My background is as a golf pro, and I was working at a golf course called Stoke Park, just outside London. And I'd sort of grown up in that area, but I think the difference with Stoke Park is when I went to work there, and I played there as a kid, but when I went to work there, what I realised was there were a lot of people that were travelling out at the weekends to play, and there was just, there was no opportunity. I'd be coaching people and you'd be saying, oh, you'll practice this in between lessons, and they had no opportunity to practice.
I see.
And so that's what got me thinking, and I was also coaching at a golf school in central London, which was just hitting into net, so I was coaching there at the weekends. And I hated hitting into net, so I just felt that it was pointless. Because for my coaching, I really felt I wanted to know where the ball was going. And I just found it boring, so I started to look at simulators more from a coaching perspective to begin with. I'd always wanted to have my own business. I was just getting to that stage of I was qualified with the PGA, so sort of looking for the next thing.
So you were a golf pro, but you always knew you wanted to start a business. Did you know? I mean, surely that must have been.
I wanted to be a golfer, really.
Yeah, like everyone wants to be a footballer or a golfer or a tennis player or something.
But when that didn't work out, I definitely wanted to be my own boss, one way or another. So that was, I was just always kind of looking along those lines. And when we started to look at simulators, we were quite surprised, or I was quite surprised at how far they'd come. And there was a guy in Norway I remember we went to see who had some indoor centres, because in Norway there really is a sort of indoor and an outdoor season in
because it's so cold, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Playing golf on simulators was reasonably established there.
Yeah.
So I remember going to see him and kind of seeing that people were getting organised and doing it socially. So that was how the idea evolved of a bar and the social thing as well.
Yeah, that's the interesting point, isn't it? This social golf, because it's not like a normal round of golf. I mean, you wouldn't come here and there are no sort of strict rules. You don't have to wear your check trousers or whatever. That's quite an interesting idea. How did you arrive at this kind of social golf idea? Did you take it directly from this kind of idea that they developed in Norway, or?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, the interesting thing about when we started the business was that was so untested. And I still look back now and think about, some of the guys that invested money and committed to it, and that it was a massively untested thing. And actually at that time, the banker, from an investment point of view, was always that myself and a couple of the guys that we took on had very established client bases from a coaching perspective. And the coaching was fine, and it was what we thought it was going to be, but the whole idea of people coming in and using the place socially really took off.
Right.
And that was what got us on our way, and that's what, now that is still our biggest revenue generator, is just people coming in to play golf.
That's interesting. So you started it ultimately as a new place to go and coach, and it developed into a social entity.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always, because we were putting 6 simulators in, we always said, people are going to come in and play. But because that was so untested, I think when you're talking to investors, they want to feel that there's something that is tested. And so we would always fall back on this thing. We'd say, well, we've got clients, we've already got clients who are in London, and this is going to be much more convenient for them. And, investors quite liked that, even though that was, even in the business plan, it wasn't the biggest revenue source. That was
very interesting. So what was your first urban golf like? What did you learn that was making you, what kind of mistakes did you make in that first one in Soho?
Well, specifically on the branding, I mean, I think the good things that we had, I mean, we were very, very fortunate that I think we got a great logo.
Right. And you've always had this logo?
Well, there was one logo that was on the original business plan, which we did actually pay quite a lot of money for and wasn't very good at all.
Right.
And then we went back to the drawing board, and as a company we used, and we still use today, called Mammal Design, and we actually engaged with them when they first started. So Joe Hosp from Mammal's become quite a good friend.
Oh, I see.
And we still work with him now, and he designed the original logo. We drove him completely mad and kept going away and kept coming back, kept going away. But we arrived at that, and I think I still love that logo. I think that's testament to it. I'm not bored with it. I get bored with lots of things, but I still love that. So that was great, and the sites look great because one of our investors then, and now our main investor, Squire and Partners, is an architectural firm, so
I
they
see.
design the sites. And but I don't think that really came across on our website. I think it's quite a difficult thing to get right, that tone of voice.
So it sounds like you not that you got lucky, but you had various people that you could count on to deliver this whole business.
Yeah.
Which is quite a kind of a unique position you found yourself in.
Well, it's testament to golf, really, because the one thing, you know, if you're young and you're a kind of professional golfer at a club, you meet lots of people. I mean, golf is a great thing for networking, and it's still today. It's a fantastic thing for getting to know people.
Yeah.
You know, meeting new people today to help to take the business forward. It is the thing I use still to meet with people and to get to know people. It's a great gateway.
Yeah, and talking about moving the business forward, you've gone from one urban golf in Soho, you now have 3 throughout London.
Yeah.
How big was that? What were the challenges in that kind of expansion? Because you've only been going for what? How long's urban golf been going? 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
So in 7 years, you've gone from 1 to 3. And that might seem like a few, but that's quite a lot of work because they're quite big places.
I thought we'd have 20 by now.
Oh, did you? Was that your projection?
Well, it was in 2004. I think everybody was doing these massive rollouts, and I thought,
right.
You know, what you've got to do is come across the. You know, it didn't even matter if you were making a profit back then.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. We started out. I mean, the big challenge to begin with was that we started out with a big group of investors. So there were 7 investors who had put in anything from £25,000 to £100,000, and they were a really great group of people. But I think when you've got a group of people, it sometimes is quite hard to commit and to move forwards. And so we opened Soho on cash investment and a little bit of finance around the technology, around the assets,
okay.
But mostly a cash investment. And then it went really well. It was generating nice money, and you know, we thought, okay, let's open another one. And we found Smithfield, and we borrowed all of the money to do Smithfield. And when we sit with our bank manager today, he cannot believe that they lent us that money, because they just don't do those kinds of deals these days.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. But back then they did, luckily. So it was quite aggressive. We borrowed it over a reasonably short period of time, and we opened Smithfield, and it went pretty well. We managed to pay it back. I mean, I look back now and it's terrifying what we were paying. And then, you know, that was going well, but you know, still sort of, when you've got that level of debt in a business, it's a struggle, and it's a struggle to think of going forwards when you're making that level of repayments. And then about 4 years ago, Squire and Partners stepped up and said that they would like to carry on, you know, with as partners, so
right.
myself and Squire and Partners. So we did a deal to buy out all the other investors, which meant that we had a lot more freedom. And 4 years after opening Smithfield, we opened this one. So today, you know, we're in a really nice position because, you know, whilst times are tough, luckily we don't owe any money, and we've just installed these new simulators, which, you know, we're just seeing it now. We installed them at the end of October, and they're just making such a huge difference to the business.
But you're a self-confessed golf geek.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have developed a business this strong, this big, this quickly, without that underlying background and passion?
I think what makes us really strong as a business, and it is a weakness at times as well, is that we are so fanatical about golf. And there are a lot of people who have sprung up, who have seen, you know, what we did in Soho and have opened up, and most of them aren't around anymore. And one of the major reasons for that, we feel, is that when customers come in here, there is an infectious enthusiasm, and we really try and foster that. So a lot of the guys that work here are good golfers, and we're all competitive, and we have things like this roll up on a Tuesday night, which is actually this Tuesday was a really nice feeling, because all of a sudden I kind of stood back and looked at it, and there are all these people, you know, there's 30 people here and 30 people at all the other sites, and they're all playing in this league, and they're playing for a prize at the end, which is a trip to a great golf course in South Africa. And they're taking it really seriously, and they're having a great time. You know, the football's on TV, and it's very social. But you know, seeing that and seeing that we've got people into that mode of doing that is quite a nice feeling. And
you mentioned it can be a weakness at times. Why is that? Is that a case of you not being able to look at things subjectively anymore?
Yeah,
and just almost this being an extension of your hobby.
Struggling to compromise.
Yeah, right.
Is the big thing.
Okay.
In a number of areas. I mean, when we started out with the equipment side of the business, there was an investment that went into equipment and technology so that we could have the best club fitting product anywhere. and the people that we employed to work in that side of the business, the time that we put into it at that time was, I would say, not a logical commercial commitment, but it's turned into something that's been really good, because people are starting to recognise how far ahead of everything else it is. Word of mouth spreading. But the limitation with it is it's very hard to make that scalable when you put that level of attention into it. But it's something that we're passionate about, and it's something that I think is a great thing for the brand, because it shows how serious we are about the game.